Let me just have a good look, please. There you all are. This is what I'm going to be doing. And I've got a take-home message with a health warning. And by the way, if you don't like words, this talk is not for you. Personally, I find words easily as beautiful as images. In fact, they are images of a very special sort. So, be warned. The art of philosophy I think people are still sort of coming in. Come in. Well, the people who've just come in haven't had the health warning. So I do apologize about that, but I'm not going to give the health warning again. They're just going to have to do it without a health warning. So let me continue. The art of philosophy is the art of clarifying what can be said and what conditions need to be in place to say it. It cherishes wisdom. That is the knowledge of good means to good ends. It knows the good to be organized perspectively. That is, from a point of view. To cherish a good is to frame it in a composition of values. And with that, the bad comes into being, and vice versa. The cherishing of the good comes about through creation and destruction. Philosophy cannot reasonably console or give advice here. You see, it does not take up a theoretical position with regard to a good, except if it dares to transgress into theory and thereby shaping the logical space it operates within to portray that specific good from a specific perspective. At that moment, things become political. Things become a matter of priorities, urgencies, importances. No truly dispassionate philosophical understanding of the world can by itself move us in any one direction over and above another. It can only help us contemplate the often elusive nature of the good, the true, and the beautiful. And it can help us understand why they so often elude us and how they might be found only in understanding and forgiveness. Mind you, that might just be the road to joy. I remember my first sublime anger. I was a young man, not that young, 40. Young enough, right? I'd never seen this Buddha before. And then it suddenly wasn't there. It had been destroyed. And I had now seen the Buddha as it would have been before destruction. And I saw it after destruction. And I just remember the fury, because I'll be honest with you, my heart lies with beautiful things and not so much with people. The sublimeness of my anger may be captured in the fact that I did not at all feel like this. I did not want to forgive anyone, especially not if they didn't know what the fuck they were doing. But then comes Hegel, and Hegel is always a good cure. He writes, what is familiar and well known as such is not really known for the very reason that it is familiar and well known. Oh my goodness. In the case of cognition, the most common form of self-deception and deception of others is when one presupposes something as well known and then makes one's peace with it. That meant that I had to be the object of analysis here. My anger, my problem. What is the nature of that problem? The nature of that problem is that there is a world of thought in which I dwell, and the world of thought, the world I think about, which peculiarly includes the world of thought. And those two worlds, one a subset of the other, they meet in something beautiful, namely the thing. The thing. Things are where our conceptual world of thought models the world we think about, the world of behavior that we are engaged with and that we experience. So there is a kind of mind versus matter sort of thing. Matter form, the matter form compound, this sort of thing, you know? But also the word on that screen, things. What is in the mind matters, but do you mind about the matter? You see, we can only say things about the matter through the mind, through the concepts we make in our mind and the properties we assign those concepts that in turn refer to things which hopefully accurately somehow reflect the behavior of the world we think about. And that's where I come to the prime work of art that all of us are at work on. Our own set of concepts, the things of our minds, and how we use those concepts to make inferences, such as, oh, that should be a candy floss, it must be sweet. That's how we operate in the world of our thought. Concepts are fascinating works of art. At the beginning, they are just a basic thing, a word, a name, together with a basic definition, as you might find in a dictionary. But then we start slowly enriching those concepts through their interaction with other ones, through associations, metaphors, analogies, through all the richness that language is capable of. And so each concept becomes this fabulous candy floss as we spin it into richness. So let's look at the concepts of cherishing and destruction. And we should start with a bit of ordinary language. You won't be able to read this perhaps, but it essentially says that cherishing means to hold something dear. To hold something dear. Now, I want you to have a bodily understanding of hold something dear is the way one would hold a baby, the way one would hold a small precious thing. Sorry, the way one would hold something special. To destroy is to ruin something. emotionally, materially, whatever. My thesis is a very simple one, and I think it is the thesis of this festival. Cherishing and destruction, when performed intentionally, in other words, with good reason, are activities that necessarily involve each other. To destroy something is to cherish something, and vice versa. To cherish something is to cherish the idea of something. Always. The consequences for that which is being cherished are not thereby decided. That's very important. To destroy something is to destroy the idea of that thing. But it also often refers to destroying the thing itself. That's complicated. Now, the minor term may occasionally be disregarded as trivial, right? In the cherishing of something, something trivial might be destroyed. But nevertheless, for a philosopher, that little thing that is destroyed in the cherishing of things is just as important. You can't put it away. So, my look into my own anger requires me to ask myself, what is it that one cherishes when one commits oneself to destruction? And do I fully understand this? And of course, that's the interesting thing. This act of destruction was in itself an act of cherishing something that was felt to be much, much, much more important, and that the something that needed to be destroyed stood in the way of that something that was to be cherished. What is it that one destroys when one commits oneself to cherishing something? Now, the hotel that stood here before had actually been bombed during the Second World War. So when Marcel Breuer was asked to build this building, he did not destroy anything that was not already destroyed. And yet, he did. He destroyed something of the memory of what was there and created a new memory, a new thing. So what do I do when I cherish? What is it that I actually do perform? And what counts as doing it well? The act of cherishing or destroying something involves at least three parties: the cherisher or the destroyer, the cherished or the destroyed, and of course the environment in which both comport themselves. But this environment is not a single environment. It is an environment that has a past, a present, and a future. It fragments itself into a plethora of working parts, from the indifferent to the antagonistic. And each of these stakeholders have specific roles to play which need to be laid bare if you want to understand it. And once that is done, we might focus our attention on the cherisher as they focus their loving attention on the cherished at the expense of whatever falls outside of that frame. The act of cherishing takes sides necessarily. What is thereby done and undone? And who cares? Two very puzzling things. First picture shows bees cuddling the queen to death. She no longer serves her purpose. She is old, older than 40. And so the bees decide it is time. and they cuddle around her. They love her to death. And the other one is even more curious. Judas, who kisses Jesus in order to betray him. I think that relationship is so fascinating. And in fact, I have learned to cherish not so much things in themselves as the thought that I engage with as I think about cherishing them. I now cherish not so much the monument, but the discussion about the monument. I look at people expressing themselves in the way that they cherish themselves so much. And I do too. I'm a vain man. I wear black and very cool boots, which I've saved for them. There are people, and I don't understand them, and I want to understand them, who cherish something like the dark, and they wear that darkness so happily, so joyfully. And then those moments of intense sadness for me, who loves buildings and loves hating buildings, but also loves hating those people who hate the buildings that I love. Did you see the Parisians when the Notre Dame burnt down? Did you see the Danes when their exchange burnt down? Gosh. But you see, the weird thing is when I see them being so sad, I know that the world is okay. It's all right. We're going to get there. Don't worry about it too much. If people feel that way when something like that happens, well, we might be like chimpanzees murdering our compatriots, but we're all right. But what I find most interesting is that which is cherished lives in the mind. What does it actually mean to live in the mind? Take the absurd example of one of the most expensive yachts ever built, with its own Olympic-sized swimming pool. Who the hell wants an Olympic-sized swimming pool in a boat? I mean, what is going on in that mind to make that what they want? It says here, the yacht costs $785,000 just to refuel. Not sure what that means, but it sounds like a lot of money to go to the garage, you know? What is in the mind of that man? He, to me, looks so sad. He is so unhealthy. He's not a happy man. What does he need that yacht for? You see, that's the weird thing. If you ask yourself what to own something is, you come up with very strange answers. Really, to own something, to say this is mine, is really only to own the idea and the experience of it. And you can decide how to use that thing. And that is something that somebody else cannot do because it's mine. So you're not allowed to use it in the way you want to. I'm only allowed to use it in the way I want to. I can squander it. I can exhaust it. I can destroy it. And I can take care and cherish it. The thing, stupidly, is completely indifferent to ownership. It really doesn't care a hoot. It is perfectly happy being a broken thing. It doesn't mind. It is always us who mind. We dwell in the world of thought to such depths. We affect the world we think about, but in a trivial way. And we affect it primarily in the way we think about it. So here is something of a conclusion. I'm born into the world, and the world I'm born into becomes the other, slowly, not me. But I'm still intimate with it, but also distant. It forms me, and its experience forms my foundation. The world I am born into is the norm. That is just how the world is. And I learn to love, hate, cherish, and destroy in that world. But which world is that? It is the world I make with my ideas. It is a conceptual version of my world that I affect with my loving and hating, my cherishing and destroying. And how is it what I cherish determined? It is determined by my genetic history, by my phenotypical development, by my upbringing and the chemistry of my moods and desires, and how they behave within the situation I find myself in. It is determined by the strange but ironclad logic of my taste that I have developed with such care. I can find freedom only in my learning. But what is it that I learn? I learn the strange ideas of people that I happen to admire. And so my cherishing is a very strange affair. Whilst the thing I cherish is completely indifferent to my cherishing. It is indifferent to the care I lavish on it. Its condition is something that I care about. It serves me, the idea that I hold dear. Is this a bad thing? No, it just simply is. My cherishing is about things only insofar that those things are about me and my fellow thinkers who make things in their thinking. We make things special and ordinary. If this is so, what am I capable of? The weird thing is that we are able to make things special even by destroying them. Tout comprendre, c'est tout pardonner. Can I forgive them? Do they know what they've done? Do I know what I've done in cherishing this thing? No idea.
Thank you so much, Jacob. I want to give everyone the opportunity to ask questions. Is there someone who has a question? I also have a question myself, actually, but I want to give someone. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was wondering because in your presentation you talk about your relationship to things, and even though extremely interesting and funny and inspiring, I was wondering then how about your relationship with living things?
Yeah, that's a very good one. Aristotle spoke about the soul being the principle of life. So he actually gave a very pragmatic definition of what a soul is. He didn't make it very mystical. He made it just sort of whatever it is that gives life to things is what I call the soul. So he turns it around, And then suddenly the soul becomes a special thing to us. And it becomes, in fact, something that matters to us. I killed 2 mosquitoes this morning. I was preparing this talk and I was sitting in the kitchen, and I live next to a student house, and they leave beer bottles open, and so the mosquitoes have a wonderful time breeding, you know. So I have a lot of mosquitoes, so I kill them. Is that an answer to your question?
I guess it would be easier to think about mosquitoes than other living things.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Francis of Assisi would not have killed a mosquito and would have really minded me killing that mosquito. In fact, my daughter-in-law is a St. Francis of Assisi. Mm-hmm. And I caught a mouse not so long ago, and she said, "Oh." And I said, moving up the scale, it becomes increasingly difficult.
Yeah.
My scale stops at the mouse.
Yeah, I see there's a lot of emphasis on thinking in a way and mm-hmm. concepts. So do these concepts kind of like, do they become embodied also in other living things, or is there a special place for, like how does the thinking go into the living world? Because it seems clear that there is no thinking in the objects that don't care, right? But then there, at some point, the things start caring.
Yeah, the things start caring.
Yeah. Well, living things, if we can call them things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I've been totally struck dumb by is the depth of the involvement of our thinking with the world of behavior. So this environment here, this wonderful embassy by Marcel Breuer, which wasn't always a wonderful embassy, by the way, and isn't in everybody's eyes a wonderful embassy. It is made by our thinking. And the funny thing is, it is also a record of our thinking, as long as we have wonderful people like Phoebus who keep such things alive and who tell us about such things. And that is what makes it so interesting to fully understand what it means to say that the present, or rather the past, is never in the past. The only past that we have access to is that which is already in the present. Whoa! Suddenly I've lost half of my being. You know? The past behind me is no longer there. I carry it with me.
Fortunately, you don't constantly have to recollect it.
No, and that's the good thing, because it is held in things. Our memory is held in things. But only on condition that the other half of the memory is held in people like Phoebus. If there are no people like Phoebus, also the memory is gone.
Thank you for that answer. Yeah. Alexander, do you have a question?
About forgiveness. So I'm curious, what is your opinion about this process? If I look at myself, I think if I forgive, then I detach myself. And then I lose something. So I'm a little bit confused what is a proper, let me say, attitude, how to deal with forgiveness.
I gave you a health warning. I'm not going to repeat it. And I really mean it. You know, don't go to philosophy to ask for consolation unless the only consolation you're happy with is that of understanding what's happened. Because I cannot frame a good for you. I still feel anger at the destruction that people employ on the world. I am baffled by what is happening in this world at this moment. And I'm not going to mention concrete cases, but the absurdity already involved in the two wars that we are engaged with is just mind-blowing. How to understand that? I can't even begin. I just don't understand. I don't know. And if I don't know, how can I say to my Lord, Lord, forgive them, for they don't know what they do? I haven't got a clue what I'm doing. I just muddle on. Do you know what muddling on is? Aanmodderen, yeah. Aanmodderen. Oh, wait. I've got a slide for you. Yeah. Let me just get that. Aanmodderen means this. Wait a second. No. Okay. Here, I'm a muddler. What is to muddle? To muddle is doing something without having any clear plan or purpose and without having enough help or support. The problem is that all we can do is muddle on, if you believe Iris Murdoch. I don't know where she said it, but she did say it, and she didn't say it in her beautiful book, The Sovereignty of Good, which I think everybody should read, and it's such a beautiful book. She said it in one of her novels, and it's become my life and lifesprook. So we need to become good at muddling, and that's very difficult.
Well, let's leave it at that. I agree, actually. Thank you. Well, it's fine. I want to look one more time